I'm sort of doing a cleanup around here. I seem to be doing that a lot. I got all these projects going on, things laying around, and I've had this Camco snare drum in filthy condition, and my videos would never be complete without whipping out the old catalogs. Here's I don't know the date of this catalog. It's a little later one because they show the wood grain finishes. But here's that snare drum in a double bass drum configuration with a 14-inch floor tom. Isn't that cool? 220s. There's that snare drum. I hope that's coming out clear. The Aristocrat snare drum. That sold for $90 back then, so quite a deal. And see, here's those wood grain finishes they show. Nice little set. My favorite set's this one, though. Look at that. The Nick Ceroli set. Burgundy Sparkle. I've got one of these. Very fortunate to have one of these drum sets. There's Nick there. Guy died way too young. What a great player, man. If you're not familiar with Nick Ceroli, check him out. He was with the Tijuana Brass, but later on he did a lot of big band things with Bob Florence's band, and really, so there's that 3D Moire, or Moire as they call it. Alright, let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of Vintage Drum Restoration Garage. And you can always tell when it's summertime around Phoenix. The old evap fan is cranked up, trying to keep the place cool. It's only June, early June, and we're already bordering on 100 degrees, which is nothing around here, but about the only time I can work in the garage is early mornings. So I got this old Camco snare drum. It's the Oaklawn era. Pretty bitchin' drum. It's 3D Moire, or Moire as I call them. And it's all original. I just haven't taken the time to clean it, and it's about time that something gets done about it, so I thought I'd bring you guys along, tear this thing apart. Check it out, even the original Camco snare drum head is on it. I just love these Camco drums. Look at these hoops. They've total quality. These are chrome over brass hoops, and they got that rolled edge, which I think gives them a really good sound. And these bearing edges are just absolutely pristine on this drum. Look at that. Beautiful drum. It smells like an old drum on the inside. You know how they They say a car smells like it does from the factory sometimes. Well, these drums have a particular factory smell to them too. And I've always enjoyed that. I think these snare wires are original on this thing too. This bottom head, I'll bet is original too. It looks like it. Let's get these wires off of here. This drum showed up on eBay, I don't know, a couple of years ago. His wires are kind of bent. See that bend in it? I'm pretty sure these are the original snare wires. They don't say Camco on them, and I don't think I've ever seen a set that did. They have a particular look to them. I'm going to try to straighten these out a little bit. Oh yeah, perfect condition. Just look at the quality of these parts on these drums. You're just not going to find that on this modern stuff. Although I should say that I have checked out some of the George Way sets that are being made now, and he actually went through the guy, forgot his name, who's making these George Way drums, is actually making these rolled top hoops for his drums, and that is really a sign of quality. Although I'm sure they're not brass. Chrome over brass, I'm sure they're not. Okay, now this tone control is not moving, so I'm gonna, before we do anything to it, I'm going to free it up. And what I use on that is, I don't want this drum to roll off the bench. This is like the best lubricant you can ever get. It's called Croil. This stuff really works better than anything I've used. Kind of hard to get in here. I need to let that soak. I put some Croil up on this. It's kind of hard to show. Up in these threads here. I'm going to let that soak in there, because I think they're all green, and part of this the screw here that goes in this plate is actually brass. So brass has a tendency to corrode. Wow. I shot some coil in this. There's a little slotted screw in these knobs for the tone control, and before I did anything, I shot some coil in there. It's really important you get the right size screwdriver to fit in there. I mean, this screwdriver fits in here perfectly. See, look at that. Fits in there really nicely. So that's really important. Also, when I'm doing the screws on the taking them out of the off the shell, I saw me using this bit on my drill here, and made sure that I had just the right size bit to go in there, and it fits in there really nice, so it doesn't gouge up the screws. See how nicely that fits. A few minutes ago I sprayed this shell down. It's like a Windex type of a window cleaner, and I've let that kind of soak in because this thing is really brown. And I'm gonna hit it again quickly. Look at all that brown on there. It's kind of nasty. You know, my buddy over at Sean's Drum Cave was using something on a satin finish that I forgot what he was using, but it was really a great product. And I thought he was doing a Gretsch set that turned out really nice, and it was really in rough shape. So I'm now putting just like a dish soap, kind of a quality one, sort of like a Dawn, and I'm going to put that on my little brush here. And I'm just going to, not sure all this brown's going to come out, but give it our best shot. So I'll clean this up a little bit, probably scrub it down a little bit further, and then I'll let it set on there for, 5 minutes or so, and then kind of clean it off, see what we get. It's never going to be perfect, but these finishes are really delicate, and although they're beautiful, they scratch easily, and no. So I'm going to let that soak in for a bit, and I'm also working on this tone control. I've got this in my vise, and I've got it soaking in that coil. You can see this thing is not moving, and I don't want to force it, so if I have to keep soaking it in coil and giving it some time, I will. Well, as you can see, I've removed the pad off of this tone control, and it's held on by an E-clip, which is just kind of a little ring with the opening. You've seen these, maybe you haven't. It's called an E-clip, And that just rides in this little slot that's here. There's a little slot that it rides in, you push it in there. So, as you can see, all this green corrosion is built up around here. So I thought I'd use this wire brush and try and clean some of it off of this. And then just keep applying more Kroil on it, and I think I'm going to try to apply some heat to this. Well, I think we're getting some results. Can you see it turning? I think you can start seeing it turn. And now, put a little more Kroil on there, just a dab. Let it soak in a little bit more. And just ever so gently start working its way down. You know, these Camco tone controls are absolutely impossible to find, and when you do find them, they're a couple $100 a piece. So I try to be ever so careful when I'm restoring one of these. Look at that. That thing's working pretty good now. Just lift it up out of there a little bit here. Let's see if we can get it all the way down. Yeah, it's coming all the way down. They put some regular oil on it now. See, when guys let these drums go without no maintenance, that's what happens. And so, yeah, that's working really good now. Let me take it out of there. I'm going to show you what's going on here. It's a little hot right now, but that's all the way down. And it's working nice and smoothly. And I'm going to try to get it even more smooth. So we had success there. I'm going to put some Viper lube on these threads too. This is, I don't know if they even make this stuff anymore. This came in this tube. It's called Viper lube. You could use any wheel bearing grease or whatever. I'm just going to try to grease these threads up. That way, down the road, this thing's going to be, you know, ready to go. They're nice and greasy now and working really smoothly. Also, how many people use tone controls? I know some people do, but not that many. I don't ever use them, but I like them in the drums. I like them, I like everything original. As the factory intended. There we go. I think that that's going to work pretty good. We'll call that a win. Okay, now on to the Throwoff here. I don't know if you guys have ever taken one of these apart, but I'll just assume you haven't. This is the Aristocrat Throwoff. A lot of times they're cracked up in this area. This one seems to be okay. Of course, we haven't taken... Look at how filthy it is. We'll get this thing working really good. Look at the grease that's dried up on it. So we'll take each piece and clean it very carefully. And then we're going to, I think, just put it back together, grease it, and I think it'll be fine. You could soak all this in soapy water and go through all that, and that works good too, but I just tend to just put it all in a little group and spray it. Let it sit for a bit, and off to the races. Well, looky there, we've got everything cleaned up. By the way, this is chrome over brass as well. That's why the plating is so good on these, because chrome sticks to brass really well. If you're chroming steel, as I understand it, you have to have a 3-step process, which is steel, and then you have to put copper over it, I believe. Then I think the chrome. You can look that up if I'm not right, but I know it's a 3-stage process, and it doesn't always work. Okay, so we've got these cleaned up, and I'm going to just show you how these go together. I'm going to put some Hyperlube in this channel here. This is where the spring rides. If you don't have Hyperlube, just use some, like I say, some wheel bearing grease. It's great. So we've got that, and that holds the spring in there and keeps it nice lubricated. Now this part here is your tensioner for your snare wires. And so the square end here goes down here at the bottom. By the way, this cutout up here is for your lever arm. Then we're going to want to put this plate on here. And it obviously was like this. We put this plate on here. Now we put this arm on here. I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe it goes this way, I'm not sure. Oh no, this goes on here, I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little lube on there. That goes on there like this. And that rides on this pin here. So all you do is you've got these holes here. Let's get them lined up. And then we'll hold this on here. Let me see here. You've got to get this to where it rides on that round pin. There it is. Now that rides on the pin, but we've probably got that little plate all screwed up here. Yeah, we do. Just a second. I had to get this camera out of the way to do that. That's all put back together. I showed you the order. You'll figure out how to get all that in there. You guys are smart. Okay, now this plate is your backing plate, and that has to go. If you don't have that, I would suggest making one. I've seen them without those, and it's, you know, it's not perfect that way. You can run your snare wires through, your snare cords through there, but I don't know. I like it with it. Because some guys just like to have the strap on there too. Okay, so those screws need to face out. You know, we'll put a little bit of vibra lube in this here too, just or some oil. You know, oil would work fine. Anything to keep the threads from binding. Alright. Get that on there. And I just tension it up a little ways. And there it is. It's all back together. She works beautiful. And it locks in there. And of course everyone has their own way of cleaning lugs. I mean, you can clean them with the swivel nuts in them, but I usually take them out. I take the spring and I just grab it with a small screwdriver, compress it, and then I can take these swivel nuts out of there. Then it's ready to clean. I can get right in there. And I just, look, I'll just use this Windex and spray it on here. And then I use 4/0 steel wool, or as you would say, 4-0 steel wool. And I go around them carefully. Try to get in all the cracks or in the tight spots. Go around them really well. Try to get all the cloudiness off of them. Because Camco didn't make any junk. It's just all high quality stuff. Okay, so, and then I'll just go around that circle. And then I'll dry it and see how it looks, and if I need to go over it anymore, that's what I'll do. Same thing on the swivel nuts, clean them up. Okay, well, I finished that shell up off camera, and I think it turned out pretty nice, as good as it's going to get. You can't get this brown off of here. That's below the Throwoff, and it is what it is. But it came out pretty nice. Now what I do is I've got one lug all cleaned up, ready to go on there. And I wanted to point out, this is one of the older drums. Camco this is the flat surface here. They also had one with a little hollow sort of a surface. Not hollow, but it had a ridge here and then it dropped down a little bit. You'll see it on Chinooks and later Oaklawns. But this would be the original Camco lug. And then I just clean the swivel nuts. I don't clean the springs, and I don't clean the mounting screws because I think they look great the way they are. I never like the way they look when I clean them, so I don't do it anymore. And then I'll just, as I'm going, rather than do a pile of parts and putting it all up together at once, I usually just put them on as I'm going by hand. I don't use the drill. And there you go. You got one of them on there. Oh, when I was talking about these, the bottoms on these lugs, and here's the one that goes with the drum, and here's the later version. You see it's got a little shallow indentation on there. So they look exactly the same. They work exactly the same. It's just that I think they're a little bit lighter. Maybe, I don't know. Nah, they're about the same weight, and it's just a different casting, and just thought I'd clear that up. Did I ever tell you how much I love Camco drums? Well, I'm about to. All you got to do is look at them, and you'll know from the first inspection that It's just quality, I guess it would be the word. Everything from the shells to just detail. You got like say a Ludwig snare drum or mini Gretsch, a lot of them. The screws would be hanging out here, they're too long. Look at, these are just the right length. It's just detail is all I'm talking about. And, very seldom do these shells come apart. And just the quality of this tone control. Look at it, it's a cable. Great invention. The lugs, what a beautiful design. That's George Way for you. He came up with all this. What about the rods? Look at these big old thick washers on these rods. Incredible. And of course we've talked about the hoops. I haven't cleaned these yet, but just look at the hoops. Chrome over brass hoops. How can you beat that? Okay, well, we've gotten pretty close to complete on the shell. I'm just going to clean up these hoops and put it back together, and then we can all ogle over it. I've gone ahead and straightened these wires out. They were a little bent up, but they're in pretty good shape. I'd suppose the weakest part of the Camco drums from the factory would be their snare wires. The real thick wire, which I don't prefer, but maybe some guys like that kind of sound. I don't care for it, but these are original wires. I went ahead and buffed these ends out as much as I could, and I've cut new cord, and so now I'm going to install these wires on here. I'm using these original heads just because this drum isn't going to get used, and why not have it completely factory? Righto, we've got those snare wires on there. I don't have the bottom head tightened very much, just for show right now. Well, here it is, guys. I suppose that early 60s Camco Aristocrat 5x14 snare drum. In 3D Moire finish, and looking definitely acceptable, and everything working properly, completely original, even down to the snare wires and heads. Can you believe that? That Camco. Sadly, that brings us to the end of another exciting edition of Vintage Drum Restoration Garage with your host Bruce, and until the next one, I'd like to thank a lot of our new subscribers. I'm getting a few more here, and appreciate you guys viewing. If you don't mind, put the thumbs up. Maybe it'll help the algorithms, I guess, get some more people interested in what we're doing here. And if you're going to give a thumbs down, explain why. Okay, don't hide in the background. We'll see you guys in a bit. Take care.